Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll start around 5:03 like the usual. Thank you. Okay, I think we can begin. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for another webinar. We host these webinars to help board members educate and also us as community managers to better understand, the important issues that affect the communities, especially, things that can create major cost, disruption, and liability if they're not handled proactively. So today, we're super excited to have Megan here with Pipe Restoration Solutions. Megan works with communities, commercial units, HOAs, to help boards understand the plumbing systems, pipe restoration options, and how associations can reduce the risk of leaks, water damage, emergency repairs, and any other problems regarding to pipes. And Megan actually previously was a community manager, so I think she can bring a lot of expertise and knowledge into our conversation today. Um, awesome. So without further ado, I'm more than happy to introduce Megan. Oh, and just before I introduce Megan, we'll have a brief Q&A at the end, so please feel free to comment down below. There's a Q&A section to put your questions there, and we'll address them at the end. With that, I'm very happy to welcome Megan from Pipe Restoration Solutions.
Thank you so much. Again, I'll introduce myself. I'm Megan. I'm with Pipe Restoration Solutions. We are a plumbing company that specializes in sewer and storm drains specifically, but do handle a wide variety of plumbing issues that arise. And as Simon had said, I used to be a manager, so I do have a lot of knowledge on what managers and also board members, homeowners experience as far as problems. And I kind of try to take that into consideration when I'm talking about some of these things and how I can help you guys prevent some large plumbing issues that may arise. So I will get started. Basically, today we're going to be talking about overview of the plumbing system, both the water and drain side of the system, common sewer and plumbing problems that may arise, inspections and diagnostic, pipe cleaning, replacement, lining, advantages of pipelining, and maintenance budget planning. And then we'll talk about any questions and kind of discuss any of specific issues at the end. So, the plumbing system, basically, when you think about your drain lines, you're thinking about when you flush your toilet or when you're running your kitchen sink and things get clogged or you put on your garbage disposal. All of these pipes are based on gravity, and typically you will find cast iron, ABS, or clay underneath your home. Within the walls, you might see the ABS now. We are moving to plastic. ABS is plastic. And then older units, buildings have cast iron, and it also depends on how tall the building is too. So for condos, in those waste stacks, you might see the cast iron in there if anything's above 3 or 4 levels. Um, that's the drain side. For the water pipes, we are primarily seeing PEX, which is the plastic pipe, and then copper pipes, and those are pipes that are bringing in water into your home. So when you turn on your shower, when you are turning on a sink, running your washer, washing your car outside, all of these are your water lines and they're pressurized. So water coming in, drain is going out. And basically everything connects to the city, and then the city does the work from there. But everything from the sidewalk on private property is homeowner responsibility essentially. So hopefully that helps on your plumbing system and kind of give you an idea of how it works. Common problems that we see will be root intrusion, corrosion, buildup over time, blockages. You could see, depending on the cooking that's being done, you might see a lot of grease and fat buildup within the pipes. Um, and this is all based on age and basically what goes down the drain. So, um, older buildings have a lot more buildup and corrosion, and after time, they accumulate and cause different things like what you see on the left. Roots in the pipes, because the corrosion will cause the pipe a chemical reaction with the metal and the water. And so it leaves that pipe a little bit more vulnerable to water seeping out, and that's where roots will get in. Um, or you could see the corrosion in water pipes where you're going to have a pinhole leak because the pipe is corroded over time, and then ultimately the water um, causes that chemical reaction, and then the water is going to start a leak. So, some of the signs that you might see that there might be a problem. Well, first of all, the age of the building. So, if your property is 30 years or older, definitely a good time to start taking a look at your plumbing system. If you haven't had any problems, that's great. But the average life expectancy of most pipes is about 30 to 50 years, but we've seen them fail earlier. So with that in mind, maintaining them and knowing these signs can help you in the long run. So slow drainage, gurgling, if you hear that sound, definitely get it looked at. Odor for smelling anything, especially sewer smell. That means you definitely need to take a look. High water bills, decrease in the water pressure, discolored water, any stain bubbling on the wall, or hot spots on the ground. Those are all signs of water possibly leaking. So definitely take a look. How do you look at pipes? Well, this is specifically kind of for the drain system that we're going to be talking about right now because water is a little bit hard to do an inspection from because the pipes are typically smaller, less than an inch in size, especially within the home or the unit. Once you go out to the main drains, it does increase in size, but to get a good visual on it, you have to drain all the water. So typically what's done for the water pipes is you're doing a pressure test, or you're looking at the water meter to determine if there's any type of issue. And usually, if you do have a water leak, you're going to know because you'll have lots of water. On the drain side, we can do a diagnostic for your drain system where we will actually have a camera enter into the pipe and we can see inside the pipe. Once we're in there, we can actually map out the system, like on our left, so you can tell where all the pipes are, what the size is, what the condition is, And on the right side, we use this NASCO rating system, grade 1 through 5, 5 being the worst. You can see where it's really restricted. And then we can actually tell how long the pipe is, what way it runs within the system, and then also give basically a rating over here once we get a good look at what's happening inside. So you'll be able to tell right here, these are just some of the issues that we see. Roots entering into the system, causing backups, um, wipes. If anyone introduces wipes into their pipes, it's definitely not good. That can attach to the inside of the walls. Soil can have over time movement that causes pipes to shift and crack. Down here, this is a lot of grease and fat buildup, most likely within a kitchen line. Um, this clay one has a lot of dirt and roots within it. So all of these are not good signs, but the good news is we do have a solution. And having a camera inspection is a huge advantage for any HOA to be able to tell what your pipes look like and what's the best plan of action um, for your plumbing system. So, next steps is cleaning. Once we get an inspection and we're able to see what the pipes will look like inside, if there is any tree roots or debris buildup within the pipe, we can hydrojet. Please keep in mind, hydrojetting is really only good for underground pipe. Because of the pressure, you want the ground surrounding it to be able to keep that pipe intact. If you're jetting a waste stack, so those vertical pipes within units, if there is a crack or anything, it can potentially flood a unit. So I do see a lot of HOAs having this done. It's not recommended because of that issue. If there is a crack, it can cause a lot of damage to the unit. Another reason why you should also complete an inspection prior to any cleaning. It really does help save time, money, and can avoid some costly damages that cleaning could potentially do. But definitely a great solution for roots or just getting um, a good cleaning on that underground pipe. It is recommended to do it annually. This can help also preserve your pipes and help them last longer and also clear them, depending on how much usage there is within the community.
Megan, quick question, because I love
Mhm.
that you point out that, inspection that can save time and a lot of resources and a lot of money. Could you just elaborate what that inspection exactly entails? Maybe it's done by you guys, if it's done by you guys.
Yeah, so basically what we do is we'll go into your plumbing system, either with the vent, and actually I'm going to go back a couple slides if I So right here, we can
Mhm.
enter the vertical stacks, which are these right here through a vent.
Mhm.
If we have roof access, another point of entry would be removing toilets, or if there is exterior cleanouts on the outside of the property, and also manholes within the site sewer. So a
Okay.
couple ways to get into those pipes. If you don't have access, we can locate where the pipes run and actually create access. So we'll locate it with our camera and then determine where we need to go so we can take a look at it. But a camera inspection is great to actually get into the pipe and see, does it need cleaning? Are there cracks? Sometimes we're not able to see if the wall is of the pipes are so built up. We might need to do a little bit of cleaning to remove that buildup. And another thing to keep in mind, sometimes we don't want to clean, and I'll talk about this a little bit later when I talk about some of our pipe rehabilitation recommendations, but we don't want to completely remove all of this scale and buildup. We might leave a little bit on there because sometimes it is keeping the pipe intact. So we don't want to completely have that pipe vulnerable until we know we're going to actually line it. and then we will remove all of that scale to 100%. Um, but again, I'll get to that. So hydrojetting, that's high pressure water, underground pipes. Next is mechanical cleaning. This is a different type of cleaning recommended for those vertical stacks within the building or even anywhere that you're not seeing the hydrojetting removing all of that buildup, which it can, in the top picture here, sometimes hydrojetting can just create a little bit of an opening like that versus completely opening up that diameter, and allowing waste to be restored again. So this is just years and years of buildup, grease and all the other debris that can build up within a pipe. And so by using these different tools, and we have different heads that can actually attach to our equipment, but it actually goes in there and it removes. So after, you can see we have an open pipe. And that is part of our step in pipelining, which I'm going to talk about shortly. So installing an epoxy liner within the existing pipe. So basically we are, instead of a traditional replacement where everything between you and the pipe comes out and you have to trench holes in the floor, create access in the walls, or outside trenching landscape. This is an alternative to keep those pipes in place and actually install a new pipe within the old pipe. And so you can see that there. This is the old corroded pipe, and this is the new lined pipe. You can kind of think of it as a new plastic pipe going into that existing pipe. And we enter that with existing access. So we use, again, like those clean outs, your vent pipes, or toilets can be removed to install. And so the first part of the lining process is basically the camera inspection. We're mapping out the system. We're looking at what type of access we would need to repair the pipes. We're also determining if pipe lining is a good option. In some cases, the pipes completely collapse, nothing is getting through. We're not going to be able to line the pipe. If our camera can get through, that's usually a good indication that we can line that pipe. Another situation that we may come across is the pipe may be too far gone, either at the bottom where we're having a lot of channeling water sitting in the pipe and it's caused the pipe to completely corrode out. And so there's really no pipe at the bottom. We do need a little bit of the hose pipe, at least I would say 40 to 60% to be in place to be able to install our liner. Um, in some cases we've had less than that and we're able to get it through. It just really depends on what the condition is of the entire pipe and what our experts recommend for lining. So that would be the camera inspection, mapping it out, making sure we have all of our access in place. Once that's all good to go, we'll do the cleaning, which I just showed you the different steps that we take. We might do a combination of mechanical and hydrojetting. Our goal is to bring that pipe to its original diameter. And so we're removing all the buildup, any roots that may have entered the pipe. Basically, we want to open it back up and get things completely clear before we can install the actual liner. Once it's clean, we'll do another camera inspection to make sure we're not missing anything. This is also kind of part of our lining process and will be presented in a final project report. So you can see we actually did camera it in the beginning. We cleaned the pipe, and then the next step will be to install the liner using existing access, or we might need to make additional access. So once we have all of that in place, we will actually, and there's a couple different types of lining, and I'm going to talk about CIPP where we use a pull in place method, and we're taking a felt liner and we're saturating it with epoxy. So, and then the bladder and the saturated felt liner will be introduced into the plumbing system using existing access. and we will pull it into place. Once it's in place, the liner will basically cure and cook off. It becomes hot at a high temperature. And once it's done curing, it will be a new pipe within the old pipe. This is estimated to last approximately 50 years. And so it is a long-term solution. There are some other examples of how you can install the liner. We just kind of talked about the CIPP where we're pulling it into place. Um, but there's also pipe bursting, and that's basically bursting a new pipe, actually a new pipe within the old one. This is good if you want to increase the size of your pipe. But again, there's limitations, and based on the camera inspection, will provide the HOA with the best solution. There's also spray coat or spray cast coating. And so basically, this is essentially like painting the inside of your pipe. And this is a good application if there are a lot of turns in the system, there's not significant cracks, and it's more of a preventative solution so that the pipe doesn't deteriorate over time. And this is also a similar solution that would be used to line the water pipes. So it's more of a coating, but it's installed a little bit differently. There are only a few companies that know how to do the installation of water pipes. So that one, and it takes a specialty liner that is certified for water drinking, so NSF 61 certified. And the other option for water pipes is to just do a traditional replacement with PEX and then kind of do a hybrid approach and do the lining with the drain lines. The next installation over here is inversion lining, and basically it's just a different method of installing that felt liner. It will basically be inverted into the pipe. Um, the the benefit of this one is you can shoot longer runs at a faster speed versus the pull in place. However, you do need a pretty significant size access pit, so it doesn't work for all lining purposes.
Megan, quick question on that. So in terms of
Mhm.
the lining, you're saying that, the expert would come out and, after the full inspection, they would determine like, some options, I guess the best um lining installation method for that specific community.
Mhm.
Got
Yep,
it.
that's
And would
exactly
you know
right.
like any factors might go into, what I guess lining, what types of lining installation would be recommended?
Yeah, so basically, we're taking a look at the existing system and we're determining what's going to be number one, the best solution. And then next would be cost effective, you know. And then again, like I said, how much room do we have for access? So if we're lining from outside the building or we're lining a larger diameter pipe, this inversion method might be a better option. If we're looking at inside on a vertical waste stack, the pull in place method typically is most times what we use because we have the ability to stop and start the liner when we have a connection tying in. So as the stack goes, and we'll go back to one of my previous images. So right here, when we're going in and we have these different pipes tying into this vertical waste stack right here, we can
Hmm.
stop the CIP, the pull in place. If we're starting up here, we can stop it right here before this branch line ties into it. And with the inversion equipment, you have to line through and then go in and cut a hole and reinstate that
Wow.
liner.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, that inversion liner is we're able to do a lot of pipe installation at one time. And but it is going to be a straight run. So if there are a lot of connections, or for example, like this, we're going to probably recommend the gapping method or brush coating. So we're actually
Mm,
able to go in there, depending on the condition, if there's cracks, all of that goes into play on recommendations.
got it. Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating that you guys have so many options for these, lining installation methods. So,
Yeah, it's been lining has been around for a long time, but I think most recently, within the last couple of years, people are really starting to understand the benefits of it and also trust that this is a good solution and option instead of a traditional replacement. So less invasive. These are some of the benefits that you might see with lining. It's less expensive, typically is faster. Homeowners can remain in their unit or home while we're doing the work. So during the day, we'll have a time period like from 8 to 3 or 4, depending on what we decide on with the HOA and what works best for the community. But we'll set that up so that their plumbing is back up and running that same evening. Whereas if you're having a repipe, you're not able to use the system while it's being replaced. And then you have to deal with all of the construction that goes into a replacement. And then it's long lasting. We have seen the liner technology, it's estimated for 50 years. So um, it is a long-term solution, which I think a lot of people are surprised that they think it's kind of a quick fix and maybe won't last as long as a replacement. So, kind of the next steps on the HOA community and maintaining their pipes. Always our recommendation to start with an inspection if there hasn't been one done. um, and continuing the inspections over the years because the pipes can change, the usage can change, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, continuing to get those inspections done, especially as the pipes age, it's kind of like a human body. You go in for your different um, checkups and inspections like a colonoscopy as you get older. It's kind of the same thing as the pipes, or if you're looking at your dental work, you're getting your x-rays done, every 6 months to a year to maintain your teeth. So, kind of thinking about that within your plumbing system, a lot of times the plumbing system's forgotten because you can't see it. So, when you notice something happening, it's usually too late and you're being reactive. So, our whole approach is get on the preventative side and get ahead of those problems by completing that inspection, looking at your plumbing system, and determining what's the best maintenance for your building. And then cleaning it on a regular basis. I kind of said this earlier, is that you should be hopefully hydrojetting on an annual basis. Especially even after you line your pipes, or even if you've had a pipe replacement, it's still good to maintain that cleaning schedule because of the usage within the community. Pipes have the ability to back up if people are flushing wipes down the drains, all kinds of things that we see, especially in a condominium where units are stacked and the lines are shared within those vertical stacks. And a way that communities can save some costs on those annual maintenance is you can always do a camera inspection every year and see maybe you don't need to do that cleaning every year. Maybe you guys can do it every few years to 5 years, depending on the pipe's condition. So that inspection is really ultimately important. Another thing that I see a lot of times is communities aren't funded for any plumbing project. So um, I would recommend that all HOAs look at their reserves and make sure that they have that budgeted in there. So if there is a replacement pipelining needed, they can complete the project without having to go, for a special or assessment or loan. And then also making sure, you have that emergency funding in there for anything that comes up that's unexpected. Like I will say, for example, I've heard that we're going to have a lot of rain this coming year, coming season. So a lot of times people are forgetting about the storm drains for their properties, and that's another thing that you should really keep up on and inspect. Um, Especially in California, I've seen, a lot more rain recently, but a lot of properties haven't even thought about their storm drains, and if they're cast iron and they crack, that's causing a lot of water damage in units as well, or outside in the common area where we're seeing a lot of backups within the community, flooding, all kinds of things that can happen. So getting ahead of those storm drains and getting those inspected if you haven't is another really good thing to put on the agenda. And then that's pretty much it. I think I'll open up the floor to questions or Simon, if you have any other questions or want me to review anything else that I missed.
Yeah, no, Megan, super, super helpful, and thank you so much for the detailed presentation. I guess, the question that I have is, I feel like, like you said, especially in California, there are a lot of condos or just townhomes that were built in kind of 70s or 80s. So I think they are definitely due for some repiping or even, like you were saying, lining. I think,
Hmm.
aside from the, things that you presented about some signs that, you know, um, that could be, up for repiping or lining. Is there any other early warning signs that we as community managers that should look out for, or even board members before a major leak or emergency happens?
I would say take a look at your call log, your history. Usually, when you're getting an increase in calls for your plumbing system,
Mm,
is typically when, okay, so maybe you had a couple calls in the last month or over the past year, that's a really good sign is just to take a look at what your emergency work looks like and also resident calls.
got it.
And then, yeah, 70 to 80s, you're looking at, coming up on the 50-year mark. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of properties. And I will say most of the time when we're getting in there, communities
Mhm.
haven't maintained their pipes at all. So
Yeah.
just because you're not having issues doesn't mean there isn't problems happening within the walls.
Yeah. Got it.
Another thing I will mention too, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about hydrojetting, but the way that you clean, we also come across this quite a bit too. A community will say they've been hydrojetting on an annual basis. And I'm just going to bring back up some of my images, but we'll see pipes that actually, this is a good one right here is we'll see pipes that look like this with the buildup in it, and they'll say they've been hydrojetting. So making sure that you know what you're paying for. And so if you're not going to do a complete inspection, because a lot of times we'll see like plumbers, they won't do the inspection after, they'll just do a quick hydrojet. So kind of knowing what you guys are paying for when you're getting this jetting done and kind of doing a little bit of checks and balances to ensure the cleaning's done properly and you're getting what you pay for. So you're
Yeah.
not wasting money.
And quick question. So you're saying that picture on the top right, you're saying that even with after hydrogetting, it might look like that?
Yeah, it can. So maybe a little bit more open, but yes, I've seen communities, and most of the time it's probably they're not getting what they're paying for. They might not be hydrojetting, or the pipes are so bad that the jetting is making a little bit of a puncture within that debris, but it
Mm,
can't actually remove all of that buildup within the walls. It just kind of pushes an opening. If the buildup is soft like that, it's just the
mhm.
thick debris, some of it might come out easily, but if there's a lot of roots or different things within the pipe, it might just make an opening and the problem will be relieved for a little bit, but then ultimately, again, present not too long after jetting. The other thing too, I will say that we've seen a lot of times is pause this real quick, but the pipes will be cleared, using a snake. And that's a great, temporary solution if you're having a backup. But a lot of times is you're just pushing it further downstream on that pipe system. So it's not actually being cleared out. And so you'll see issues, in another place not too long after you clear it. So again, you want to remove the debris, you want to vacuum it out. And also you want to start the cleaning from the bottom going up. So you're actually not going to cause any downstream blockages.
Yeah, okay, for sure. And make a quick question about the lining or maybe repiping process. Is it typically done as like, for example, if you guys do like a project in an HOA, do you guys do it for that whole stack or whole building, or what does that process look like if an association decides to, you know, do like a project with you guys, like for example, a lining project?
Yeah, 100%. So basically what we'll do, again, start with the inspection, map out the
Yep.
system. We'll provide recommendations and we can, typically if the property is, you know, coming up on the end of their life, we're going to probably recommend to complete lining for everything. So you have a
Mhm.
100% lined pipe, new solution, new system. Or we might do if we have to replace some of those branch lines and we have to open up walls because they're short, we might do like a hybrid solution. But we can definitely give options. Sorry, 1 second. So we can definitely give options of our recommendations for the entire system. In some cases, we're just going to be looking at maybe the underground. That's all the HOA is responsible for. And so just looking at the common shared lines. So, and then also sometimes we're just doing a spot repair, so a small section. We really have the ability to do the entire full scope, or we can do what's needed on an emergency basis. So, and a lot of factors go into play with that. Will depend on the budget, what the board, sometimes I have communities phase out the project over a few years. So they'll start with one building and then they'll work their way through all of the buildings. And so it kind of, we just will provide recommendations and then based on the needs and wants of the community, we will kind of adjust our solution to that. We also provide a full project management service kind of with our when we're doing a full project. So we're not only, lining it, replacing what we need to, but we're having a team coordinate and help management coordinate, building shutdown times. We'll have a project manager assigned to the HOAs. So start to finish, you're looking at a full service of getting the project lined up properly,
That's awesome.
having clear expectations of what unit owners can expect and a schedule. And then, as well as when we're finished with the project, we'll do a project closeout report showing everything we've done and also kind of just meeting with everyone so we know of the expectations.
Yeah, Megan, that's awesome that you bring up that project management piece because I feel like, a lot of vendors might provide, good support and good services, but you need that kind of project manager to oversee just making sure all the logistics and all the coordination are going smoothly.
Yeah,
So,
and we also work with several construction management companies too, that are, specialized in HOAs. So we can also make recommendations or introductions. But if a community is going through multiple projects, that's really a good time when they should bring one of those project management companies on to kind of oversee the projects. And so we definitely can work with them as well if needed.
yeah,
So there's a couple options there.
awesome, Megan. Yeah, board members, if you guys have any questions, you guys can put that on there. And uh, if anyone doesn't have questions, we can end. But Megan, I really, really love your comment about um, setting the reserves or just thinking about for plumbing work because you were saying because you can see it and because you can see it doesn't mean that we should be thinking about it or even like budgeting or paying attention to. So I think that's super important because I feel like a lot of HOAs they experience a lot of plumbing issues, leaks, and they do a lot of patchwork, and it's kind of daunting. Where it's kind of afraid that oh, like repiping costs so much money or lining costs so much money. But you know, I think they sometimes have to think, oh, how long has been our property? If it was built 50 years ago, maybe it might really we should maybe talk about repiping, relining, things like that.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. A lot of times we hear either one, they spent, maybe they spent a good chunk of that on just the emergency work.
Yep.
If they would have just, looked at the whole project as a complete one, um, they would have could have invested that money that on the emergency problem, and they could have put it towards the repair and replacement or lining, whatever, the community is looking to get. But again, it's, you do save quite a bit if you do the project together too. I will say that as well. There is a cost savings for doing everything at one time, not to mention inflation. I've seen it, communities push things off and then it's double, years later of what they could have spent. So, I will
Sure.
say it's always our recommendation to do a complete project and to make sure you're addressing everything. Because if you think about it, pipes don't discriminate, they age at the same rate. So if you're having problems in one section, you're likely to have problems in another section. Might be a little bit delayed, but again, you're going to kind of see the overall condition to be relatively the same over time.
Yeah. Awesome. I don't see any other questions from our board members.
Okay.
I guess then we can kind of conclude the meeting here. And Megan, before I guess um, we end this webinar, any final thoughts or any final recommendations to our board members?
Yeah, I will say I'm happy to attend any board meetings for an educational
Awesome.
presentation if needed, because sometimes they just need education and
Yeah.
information on different options. So happy to kind of do something similar, or we can, um, tailor it towards the community and what they need. I also do town hall meetings ahead of any project for questions for the community. Um, so that's another thing that we try to set it up, the project as best we can, so that everyone's informed and on the same page and the project runs smoothly. But
That's
feel
awesome.
free to reach out to me with any specific questions. No question is dumb, and also I'm happy to just set up a time to meet in person as well, or to walk a property if needed.
Awesome. Bringing back your community manager expertise.
Yep, happy to do that.
Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, please reach out to Megan or me. I'm more than happy to connect you guys to Megan. So thank
Yep,
you, Megan,
I'll
so
have
much for your
my
time.
email up here too.
Yeah, yeah,
All
there you
right,
go.
thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Have a great night.
Thank you, Megan.
Appreciate it. Have a
Bye.
good one.